Nations Championship game number 1, All Blacks against France, and the All Blacks have squeaked past a not quite fully strength French side, 34 points to 32. The French scoring at the end gave us a grandstand finish, but in Dave Rennie's first game in charge of the ABs, first test match down at this new stadium in Christchurch, first game of this Nations Championship, it's an All Blacks win, but it was some tough work. 5 tries to 4. I think the All Blacks are pretty good value for the win. I still think we're vulnerable under the high ball, but I was pleased with the way Dave was getting some width into the All Blacks attack, and when they looked to play with tempo, I feel like the All Blacks looked really dangerous, including scoring 1 try, showing some real kind of boldness and ability to, or confidence to attack from their own 22, essentially going length of the field. The French, the offload game continued to cause trouble, as it did in the Six Nations. It continues on here. You got to wonder how they might have gone next week once they get their big guns in from the top 14 final. But then also next week, the All Blacks, you feel like, will be better, having played already 1 game under Dave. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts about game number 1. The French struck early. It was literally the disaster start for Dave, because Damien Penaud gets on the board a minute into the game after New Zealand have exited from a kick. Line out, Max Spring has a wee half break, combining with Damien Penaud, and then the hands from the French to go right to left. Lamotte, the hooker, to Jalibert, to Penaud. 7 points to 0, and I say it's a disaster because Ruben Love, they have a look at a tackle he put in on Max Spring with that half break, and it's shoulder to head. So it's a yellow card for him. It remains yellow on review, but a yellow card and a try conceded within your first minute of All Blacks coaching, not ideal for Dave Rennie. But the players gave him a pretty perfect reply, because Will Jordan scored his first of 2 tries on 7 minutes after France had conceded a couple of penalties at the breakdown. And New Zealand, despite losing their own line-out ball, was still able to win a turnover. It was Savio who won that penalty at the breakdown. And then tap play, close to the line, wide phases. And who do you want to score a try? Will Jordan. He's really closing in on Doug Howlett's record. 5 points to 7 with the missed conversion. We did miss a couple of kicks. I think France only missed 1. We missed 2 from the boot of this one, which is could have been costly on another day, but it is what it is. It doesn't make a difference in the context of this game. Luku did get 1 penalty during the yellow card period, so to be fair, I actually thought the All Blacks played pretty well with the man disadvantage. D-Mac stepping in at first receiver and largely camping themselves down the French end, but as they did get a penalty towards the end of that yellow card to make it a 10-5 lead. But then the ABs scored probably my favorite try of the match. It is finished by Lakai, but it honestly starts from our own 22, because the All Blacks were just plain not looking to kick exit. They saw some space, and they've clearly been given the green light that if you think it's on, give it a crack. Own 22, no exit. Great carries. D-Mac with a wee kind of half break. Roygaard, Tupaia, really quick hands. And then the final kind of couple of passes, it's Caleb Clark to Peter Lakai. He finishes it off. It is a great, great All Blacks try. So the All Blacks go into the lead, 12 points to 10. And then, to be fair, survived quite a few relentless French phases. There were a few too many kind of loose passes. I feel like we did see the game devolve a little bit into kind of a few errors, although the French managed another penalty, the second of Luku's 2 penalties in this game, at that point to take the lead again, 13 points to 12. But I thought New Zealand's tempo was good, and I was pleased with how much ball Will Jordan and Caleb Clark were able to get out wide. The only problem was we kept knocking the flipping thing on. The turnovers conceded count was just too high for the All Blacks. As they were just getting momentum, they would force that final 50-50 pass, which maybe just needed to sit. Just go through one more phase. They were getting the quick recycle ball, but it was just pushing that last pass 1 2 minutes. You can only throw so many 50-50s before eventually, one of them's not going to come off. That's the kind of nature of the beast. But as I said, the tempo was good. The width was good. France, to be fair, weren't perfect either. They had like a couple of poor kicks. They had a forward pass. But you feel like New Zealand were really coming into the game as the first half wore on. They certainly dominated the latter period of the second half. They went like 12 plus phases at one point. Ethan de Groot went very close to scoring a try, but he just knocked it on over the line. His face looked like a boxer who'd gone through 12 rounds of punishment because he copped some kind of boot to the face. His eye was all swollen up as he was trying to go for that try. He told the ref he didn't get it. The TMO had already confirmed he didn't get it, but good for him to say. But we were close, and you felt like, man, with all this pressure, the All Blacks need to score, or it is a psychological victory to the French. They did get it. It's Roygaard who gets his first of 2 tries. First one comes just before half-time. It's a line-out. Taylor peels off after the maul. He goes close. And then Roygaard with the snipe. Luku kind of already steps out to create the gap for Roygaard to just go through. It is a nice snipe from him. So the All Blacks take a lead into the halftime sheds, which I think was pretty warranted given the dominance, especially territorially and possession they had at the end of that first half. Like, possession finishes 57-43 and territory 55-45, but it was so much in those kind of final 10 minutes of the first half. Line breaks is 6 each at halftime, which is massively high. Some games don't have that many. We're only talking one half of rugby. Turnovers conceded is 7-3 at halftime. That's too many from the ABs. One area they were looking right there was the scrum. Demba Bamba was getting pinged a few times. He conceded a few penalties, especially in the first half. He got subbed relatively early in the second, but yeah, not much kicking. And I think maybe that worked in the All Blacks' favour as well. Kick count was only 6 by the All Blacks, 9 by the French at halftime, which is really low. 15 kicks in one half of rugby is really, really low. You can see England sometimes kick 40 times in one game by themselves, let alone the other team's kicks. So 15 kicks in one half is low. And given how we were under the high ball again, I feel like that probably worked better for us. There was more boot to ball in the second half, and I think that worked better for France. They struck first in the second half, which was, I don't know, kind of similar to the first. It wasn't quite as quick, but it's a New Zealand error that's punished. They were, again, playing with the confidence to play from their own half, but sometimes if you don't get it right, it punishes. They try to a kind of cross kick out of their 22, but not only did they not get the kick, the All Blacks, but it also didn't go out. So the French were just able to kind of immediately counter. It was Ati Sogbe out wide. You had Jalibert eventually with a wee kind of nice shimmy step. It's pretty sweet stuff from him. And then Ati Sogbe, who gets the ball back again after taking the initial kick. One-handed pass back in field as like 3 All Blacks are trying to swarm him into touch. Nobody's watching for the inside ball. He pops it inside and Astoy is able to get it. So France back in the lead. It's a heck of a game, man. It's honestly, it's pedal to the metal stuff. It's very, very entertaining. But again, pleasing from the All Blacks is the immediate reply. It's a kind of blindside play. Tupaia gets it to Geordie Barrett, so the midfield combining, and Geordie Barrett likewise not quite as impressive as Atisogbe was as one, but a one-handed pass to Roygaard. So he gets his second. Perfect reply from the ABs, 26 points to 20. Starting to look maybe a little bit more comfortable, but I don't know. The French bombed one pretty clear opportunity for a try when Jalibert from penalty very deep in New Zealand's 22. Quick tap, dink over the top, Bro. He's going for it. He's the first man to the ball. He just shells the pass, or the kick. That's a try gone a begging, so an absolute golden missed opportunity. And then their next one, again from a high ball, gets chalked off by the TMO because as Ruben Love, and I think it was Max Springer contesting it, it comes off Ruben Love's face, but they ruled that it's gone off the hand from the French player into the face, so it's kind of gone forward into his face. So very, very close to a try from a bloody high ball, which is something we really struggle with here in New Zealand still. But yeah, a bit of a get out of jail there for the All Blacks. Next chance, France did take though, so it didn't really matter for them. Like, they missed that chance. They missed the previous chance, but they finally took the third one. New Zealand kind of failing to exit, I felt like. We had a large period of game time down our own end. We had a couple of exit kicks. One of Cam Roygaard's box kicks went pretty much straight up. Ruben Love kicks for distance but doesn't get it out, so we don't get a proper exit. And from that territorial dominance, the French go left wing, right wing. The forwards go through some phases, and then eventually Bro, who just bombed that try, passes it to Atisogbe. He goes over in the right wing, very close to the touchline, but he gets it down. Misconversion, but 26 points to 25. So the misconversion keeps the All Blacks in front, which I think psychologically is a bit of a boost. But the French have still just scored with all that relentless pressure. But that being said, again, the New Zealand reply is not bad. It's not bad. That's one pleasing thing about Dave's initial game in charge, is that when they were under pressure, they seemed to respond pretty well to it. A bit of pressure on the French after, as I said, being camped on their own end. Eventually, there's a French penalty conceded, which the All Blacks slot. They take the 3, which they'd not been doing before. They'd been opting for touch. 29 points to 25, and then Will Jordan gets the winner on 70 minutes. It's on the right wing again after a bit of territory, but we kind of spilled the ball after being down their end. But then the counter ruck from 2 of the backs, was it Ruben Love and somebody else? Was it Roygaard? I can't remember. But there was a counter ruck from the All Blacks backs, and then they were able to get it to Will Jordan. It is Jacobson, I think, who has that final pass again. He does really well, actually. He got a lot of stick in his selection, but I thought he had a pretty good game. We'll get to his stats in a second, but he's just down the right wing, holds the ball up long enough just to pop it infield to Will Jordan. So it's 34 points to 25. So the French need to score twice to get back within touching distance, and they bloody got close. They only had, 2 minutes left when Jelly Bear goes over? I thought they were... I don't know, man. I thought they were done, but they were not done, because they had been putting through a couple of little kicks like they do in the Six Nations for BLBRA, but they hadn't been coming off in this game. They tried that again. It wasn't working late into the game, but then eventually, kind of out of nowhere, when the forwards are just going through their carries, Jelly Bear just has a carry and reaches out over. He goes over Ratima, who's only just come on. Maybe you should keep Roygaard on for the 80. I don't know if Roygaard would have stopped him, but Ratima doesn't stop him. It makes it 34-32, so we get the grandstand finish. But to their credit, the All Blacks are able to run the clock down really well for a minute and a half, which honestly these days is not that easy to do. It's so easy to get pinged for stealing off or not releasing when you're trying to run the clock down. But the All Blacks did it exceptionally well. So they hold off this French side 34-32. So a little bit of a moral win for the French here, because they're depleted in terms of their squad. But as I said, it's Dave's first game, so he'll get a bit of leeway. Overall, it's just a great game of rugby. Fantastic watch, very entertaining. Lots of highlights, lots of cool skills, really played in a pretty good way. We didn't have too much mucking around and whatnot. Possession finishes 51-49 to the ABs. Territory finishes 53-47 to the French. So they really turned it around in that second half when the kicking count went up. Like, kick count finishes 21-17, so a lot more kicking in the second half. Defenders beatings 25 to the French, 26 to the All Blacks, very even. Clean breaks is 10 to the All Blacks, 12 to the French, very even. Offloads, though, the French 12 to the All Blacks 6. They were really still chucking it around a lot, even with a changed lineup. Individuals, I mentioned that man Jacobson. First equal for tackles with Sam Darry with 21. The guy was everywhere. He was doing what Dave picked him for. Moefana for the French in the midfield, 5 dominant tackles, and he had 19 tackles in his game as well. Savia, the captain, won a couple of turnovers, so leading from the front in that regard. Peno only lasted half the game, but he got a try and got 3 clean breaks. Imagine if he'd stayed on the field longer. Will Jordan and Roygaard both got 2 as well, so key players for the All Blacks, but yeah, 34-32. Interesting first game of Dave's time in charge of the ABs, and we see how the French go next week once they are bolstered by some players from the top 14. You guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, please. Thank you for being here. Let us know what your thoughts on the game were. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.